Okay, so now this is a very interesting thing on the Justin Baldoni at Blake Lively trials, because the Hollywood Reporter just came out that maybe what happened was actually a mismatch in faith and a mismatch in seeing the world on Blake Lively's side, because apparently, and this is very astrologically, this theory ties in with the astrology more than any other theory I've seen on who's right, who's wrong in this whole Justin Blake drama. So the Hollywood Reporter said that what their new theory is that Justin Baldoni was just very spiritual and very woo-woo, and he brought that into the set of It Ends With Us, and that didn't mesh with how Blake views the world. Blake views the world very differently. They even said that one of those complaints, those sexual harassment complaints or something that came out from Jenny Slate had nothing to do with sexual harassment and Justin Baldoni. It was actually Jenny Slate being offended that one of the producers offered to pay for her rent as a mother if she ended up having to lose a security deposit on an apartment that she rented because she might have to move for the movie, or it was something. They were trying to accommodate her, and they're trying to be nice because that was based on their faith that you always take care of mothers. But for her, she thought it was weird and creepy, and apparently filed a complaint about it, which goes to show how different our belief systems are, how different we see the world. And so this theory that the Hollywood Reporter came out with, that it's not that Justin's a sexual harasser, it's not that Blake is just like wrong, apparently Blake really thinks she's right, it's that it's a different way of viewing the world in a misunderstanding, and those worlds are clashing. And oh my God, I'll tell you why that makes so much sense astrologically. So many reasons, but back in September, when Blake started going on her tour for It Ends With Us, and everyone thought she was being tone deaf with how she was promoting it, that was explained astrologically, but it also explains astrologically why she thought that Justin wasn't a good guy, and she was misinterpreting Justin and his faith. So this is the aspect that was going on in September, and it repeated again in the end of December when the lawsuit got really heated. So it was Jupiter in Gemini square Saturn in Pisces. Jupiter is faith. It's our spiritual outlook on the world. And when it's in Gemini, it's how we think. It's how we think and communicate through our spirituality. Jupiter is trying to have us grow and expand in how we make meaning out of the world, in our spirituality, in our faith, and how we see the world. The problem is that because Jupiter's trying to do that right now, when it's in a challenging aspect to Saturn and Pisces, Pisces causes confusion and delusion. It can cause us to project our beliefs onto people. And Saturn is having us create boundaries around where we project our beliefs onto people. It can have us, it's going to bring up self-sabotaging behavior related to our beliefs and our projections, and it's going to inherently cause misunderstandings. So as we were leading up to the Jupiter and Gemini square with Saturn and Pisces, I was telling a lot of people, make sure you're not fibbing, make sure you're not blowing yourself out of proportion or telling little lies, because it could come around to you at Jupiter and Gemini square Saturn and Pisces. So where did we see this with Blake? Blake has a certain view of the world. And so when she was speaking about the It Ends With Us movie, she was not connecting to everyone else's truth who actually read the book, which was domestic violence victims. She doesn't know that truth. And so she was projecting her own reality onto the movie, and it was not being seen by the world in a really good way. She was being misunderstood because she misunderstood the movie, people misunderstood her. Now, it also happened with her with Justin. She told Justin to go down in the basement of his own movie. And she thought he was creepy, how he hugged at work all the time, how he wanted to do prayers in order to come up with new ways to come up with a creative direction for the movie. She thought he was weird. And so because she thought his beliefs, Jupiter and Gemini, was weird, she was misinterpreting it, the square to Saturn and Pisces, she thought he was a sexual offender and decided to go to the New York Times. Meanwhile, it's just a mismatch in faith, a mismatch in understanding. Now that aspect came back around at the end of December. This is where she doubled down on her beliefs, but she didn't have facts. And this is where the Saturn and Pisces square comes in. Saturn wants facts. It doesn't want your delusions. It doesn't want your projections. It doesn't want to see that you just misunderstood someone's faith. It wants facts. And so reality hit extra hard at that second square. And now what's interesting today about everyone coming out with that news article talking about how maybe it's not that Blake is that evil or Justin is that weird. Maybe it's just a mismatch and misunderstanding faith. Well, what is happening today? The moon is in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. So we're connected to our intuition. We're connected to the past. We're connected to how things feel and how our emotions can cloud our truth, right? That's very much what's coming up in the news today, how maybe it's just the emotions connected to your faith that are clouding the truth. Like when Jenny Slate was offered that free apartment, a generous offer, she did not see it as generous. Her emotions reacted to it differently than how the other person was trying to offer it to her. It was a misunderstanding because our emotions can direct how we see the world and direct our truth. That is a Sagittarius moon, which we have today. The Sagittarius moon was squaring in another challenging aspect to Mercury in Pisces. Mercury is how we think and communicate. In Pisces, it's showing us where we self-sabotage, where we project our own stuff onto people. And so that came out into the news today. You can't make this stuff up. I am sure it actually has to do with the bigger picture, and that is a misunderstanding of faith and how our emotions are what create our reality. And this could actually, when I think about the bigger themes for 2025 and how 2025 is really calling for people to connect to their emotions and figure out what their emotions mean and listen to their emotions and realize that their emotions are telling them truths about themselves. Now I'm starting to see that this battle, maybe it's not just about the underdog winning. Maybe it's also about showing us how much our emotions do create our reality. And that is the future of where humanity is going, that we are moving towards a collective that not only says that we know we create our own reality, we're now having the direct embodied experience of, oh my God, our emotions literally cloud our reality and can cause mass misunderstandings that lead to mass lawsuits that blow up and the whole world can see. And so, the silver lining out of all this Blake and Justin drama is maybe the world is now having a real embodied experience that we create our reality through our emotions and our truth. And even though this is a negative experience to realize that, we can use it for positive. And that would make a lot of sense because now Jupiter in Gemini is going to be making a lot more positive aspects. Jupiter is gaining faith and wisdom through direct experience. Now we've had the direct experience that people are creating their own reality by how they think and by misunderstanding each other and just living in their own reality. Now we can use the positive of that, which if we can use our view of reality to tear down our whole life and to misunderstand someone and to manifest something that we think is true that's not true on the other side, then how can I use that for good?